My friend called off his wedding/relationship partly because of me. I'm a 37 female in a wheelchair due to multiple health issues, and I haven't walked since I was 13. My friend is 36 male, let's call him Nick, and his now ex is a 38 female, call her Mandy. Her and I were friends too, just haven't known each other as long. I met Nick in 9th grade, and he was such a sweet weirdo like me, and we got along very quick. Even though I was in a wheelchair, he treated me just like everyone else. Nick and I met Mandy in 11th grade at a basketball game between our two high schools. She was a cheerleader, very loud, beautiful, extrovert compared to our introvert selves. This is not a jealousy story. She would occasionally hang out with us over the next few months, but she had a boyfriend, so Nick never made any moves to try and date her. Summer came, and I went to my grandparents' house like normal, and Nick stayed in town. We only talked a handful of times because long distance wasn't free back then. When I got home, the week before school started, Nick asked me if I wanted to hang out and catch up, which obviously I jumped at the opportunity because I missed not just him, but the whole group of friends we normally hung out with. We all went bowling and grabbed food. Later that night, Nick asked me if I wanted him to take the bus with me home because it was kind of late and he was worried about me. Oh, that's nice. I would never say no to him. Did I have a crush on him? Absolutely. Most girls did. He was your typical blonde hair, blue-eyed, about 6 foot, could have been in a boy band cutie. When we walked to my house, since he walked me the 10 minutes from the bus stop, he asked if we could talk for a bit, and I said yes. He started off by telling me he doesn't want to hurt my feelings, and he definitely does not want to see me crying. Okay. So I was a bit confused. I looked at him kind of weird and said, okay, tell me what you want to talk about. He kind of laughed and told me for the longest time he had a small crush on me, but never wanted to ruin our friendship, and now he was afraid that he was going to because of what he did and how it happened. Okay. I was honestly still so confused, but I asked him to explain. He laughed and said, I accidentally got a girlfriend. I wasn't surprised at all because, it's Nick, after all. A guy like him can only stay single for so long. I said, okay, I'm happy for you. What does it mean that you can't also be happy and find what makes you happy? And trust me, it hurt being that. I asked him who's his girlfriend, and he stared at me a while, and it seemed like 5 minutes. Eventually, in almost a whisper, he said Mandy. Honestly, I wasn't surprised that they liked or started dating. I was thrown off, though, because I knew she had a boyfriend, last I heard. I asked him what happened to her boyfriend. That's when he told me why I will probably be upset with him. He said he messed up and was ashamed of what went down. I grabbed his hand and said I could never dislike him, so just tell me. Oh boy, I was not prepared for what he was going to say, because he was kind of like your good boy next door, went to church every Sunday, said yes ma'am, yes sir, you're good old good guy. So when he told me he went to a party, which wasn't out of normal, but she had been there and somehow talked him into drinking something he's not used to doing at all, he got wasted quick. One thing led to another, and the next thing you know, he was waking up next to her in the morning. Mandy had cheated on her boyfriend, and Nick was responsible. He said he panicked, grabbed his things, and left. He felt terrible because he did so many things he thought he never would, like drinking, at least to the point of being drunk, and sleeping with someone before marriage, and worst of all, being part of someone cheating. I tried to calm him down because at this point he was kind of hyperventilating, and I told him, things happen and God will still love you and your parents will understand if they ever found out. That's when he threw a curveball at me and said after he left, he can't remember seeing a balloon for spicy time anywhere. He called Mandy and she laughed it off and said, silly boy, you never used a balloon and you didn't. He was horrified and she thought it was kind of a joke, and a couple days before this conversation, she told him she was 3 weeks pregnant and not sure if it was his or her ex-boyfriend. Nick, being the guy he was, told her, I've always liked you enough. This is a little off from what I'm used to. Let's date and allow me to man up for what I did. See where it goes. Let me state that he did not date her because she was pregnant, but because he did like her, even though, through my eyes, the sweet girl she had been was shattered because of the way she acted. It was senior year, and Nick had half his life planned out after high school. He was going to join the Marines for 4 years, then cross over to the Navy and become a Navy SEAL, hopefully. But even if he did not become one, he was going to stay in the Navy and eventually go to college for engineering. So potentially having a kid was putting a little bit of a wrench in his plans. They dated for about 6 months when she supposedly lost the baby. I say this because she would never allow him or her ex to go to any of the doctor appointments with her. To this day, she still has never shown proof of being pregnant. A bunch of us kind of felt like she was trying to trap one of them. Regardless, after they broke up, we graduated high school. Nick followed through with his dreams and goals and ended up running back to her 5 years ago. Nick and I have always been friends. Even though he moved from Las Vegas, where we are from, to Virginia Beach for work, it took a bit, but Mandy became my friend again because she seemed like she changed. Within reason, because she did make remarks about how it was crazy people could stay friends for 20 years, and the fact that I looked like I gained weight. I've never been skinny. Anyways, he fell for her all over and started dating her, and he seemed genuinely happy, and I was excited for him because he had a really rocky and tragic last 15 years. He was married and had 2 kids. He was deployed and found out his wife cheated and also got breast cancer that ended up taking her life. After which one of his best friends told him his kids weren't his kids because he knew one was for sure. Okay, oh, this is messy. Neither of which ended up being his, and both wanted to be with their biological dads, 2 different guys. It completely broke him, but he did go to therapy and somehow learned to deal with it. I wouldn't say completely covered, but did his best. Again, I say this is not a jealousy story, even though I've been accused of it recently. Also, for a little context, I've been very happy in a relationship for 11 years with my boyfriend, who I call my husband. I also did have the chance to date Nick at one point, but I did turn it down, so no jealousy there whatsoever. This is where I might have ruined my friend's wedding. After they got engaged last year, Mandy turned into a bridezilla times a million. She went full-blown psychopath, basically thinking everybody needed to bow down to her, and that she was the queen of the freaking universe. I was going to say they chose things for the wedding, but she would not let him choose anything. She chose a venue here in Vegas, very fancy and expensive. Everything else she chose followed the suit of being very expensive and fancy. Of course, I was one of the people that Nick invited to the wedding, and the guest list was roughly 175 to 200 people. Ooh, expensive. And he could only invite 50 people. At one point through the planning, he called me and asked if he could talk. I never turned my back on him because he's been there through a lot of things. He asked me if I thought he was making a mistake. Ooh. The fact that he's even asking you means he knows he is. My response was only he could determine that. I did tell him he needed to make sure this is what he wanted and also probably get a prenup. He's not the richest person, but his family comes from money and he has a lot to lose. And the way Mandy was acting over the wedding, I didn't want something to go wrong down the line. He eventually told her she needed to sign one, and she threw a fit, of course. Him being a sweetheart never told her I mentioned it. Now she'd called me a few times to ask, because I was in a wheelchair, if I could wear something a little more glamorous to her wedding. And I responded I could probably find something I could be comfortable in. That's not what pissed me off. She had an absurd request. The real punch in the gut. It was when she asked me, considering that the venue was so fancy, if I could leave my wheelchair at home and not bring it. And do what? Crawl? I don't know if you're like paralyzed from the waist down or the neck down or whatever, but like it doesn't like really work like that. You can't just like, oh yeah, I just won't bring it today. What? She stated it would make her wedding tacky compared to the expensive surroundings, or if I could get a new one and doll it up with jewels and bling. I wonder if she would say that if she had like an elderly grandmother that needed to be in a wheelchair. That's crazy work. I'm sorry, what? I was so appalled at the request. Like, how the hell am I supposed to leave my wheelchair at home when it's my lifeline of getting around and my insurance was not just gonna pay for a new one to accommodate her wedding? My response was a lot more colorful language, but I basically told me I won't be going. I told her I could not break Nick's heart. So she would have to tell him that I won't be coming, and it was up to her to decide to tell the truth of why. I knew more than likely he would end up calling me to ask why, but I let it go. Now it's the beginning of June and the wedding is in a month, or should I say, was. Oh no, sorrows, prayers. See, Nick called me and he was kind of upset. And I thought it was because of me, and it was not. But because of a few of the elders in his family he invited to the wedding, including his grandparents on both his mom and dad's side of the family. 2 of them use a wheelchair, one walker and the other a cane. Literally. Wait. He told me that Mandy asked him to leave their tacky, wore-down, and old assistant devices at home or don't attend because she refused to have her glorious day ruined by such ugly attire. Oh yeah, she gotta go. What the f? Of all things to be weird about. I had no words and no clue what to say to him. I was at a complete loss. Asking me is one thing, but to have the audacity to ask his grandparents is a whole other can of worms, and no one should ask that. I felt bad because I said it's the reason I'm not coming either. He laughed and asked, "You knew my grandparents were asked this nonsense?" I responded, "No, the psychopath asked me not to bring my wheelchair." He lost his mind and yelled, most of which I didn't understand, and I've never heard him so pissed off. He hung up, and a couple days ago, I got a call from Mandy telling me my jealous, crippled ruin her wedding and relationship. I hung up and called Nick. Jealous, crippled. Yeah, no, she ruined her own wedding. I'm just saying that right now. He told me the whole explosion of a story. He confronted her and admits he did yell at her and called her a psychopath and a bridezilla. After all of it, her response was she only gets married once. She's going to get the wedding she wants and deserves for putting up with his work and life. It's not going to happen if he keeps trying to add his 2 cents. And if he doesn't like it, he can sit in the corner and deal with it. And she's the boss in the relationship. If he doesn't like it, he can also like not be in the relationship either. You know, there's another option too.
Just go sit in the corner and cry about it.
No, I'm good. He just needs to make the money and give her what she wants. Also, that he shouldn't listen to jealous B words that'll never have him because they're too fat and crippled and can never satisfy him like she can because of her cheerleader past. And yes, she was talking about me. She then told him to choose between them or her, meaning his family, and me or her. This person sounds unhinged. I'd rather die than be married to someone like this. Of all hills to die on, she showed her true colors, at least. Thank God it happened before he got married to her. He's not a very violent person, but told me it took everything in him not to punch her. He did, however, tell her to get all her shit she bought herself and get the hell out of his house, and to leave the car since he owns it. She told him that he just needed time to cool down. She said, I'll see you the day she walked down the aisle. He said the relationship and wedding were completely over, and he was beyond mistaken to think he could ever be happy. He said he was beyond glad that he got to see the nightmare before the wedding and making a huge mistake. She started telling everybody I was the reason why all this happened, not taking any responsibility for what she said and how she acted. Apparently, the people who were on her side think I'm a jealous person who wants to be with him and destroy the relationship in hopes he would come to me. But I'm very happy in my relationship. Nick has since told everybody what went down, and most people were appalled. Although there were a few people who said I should have just shut my mouth. You didn't even really say much, honestly. You just told him the truth. The thing is, I was just icing on the cake that made him explode. She told him his own grandparents couldn't bring their assistant devices. That gave them the ability to get around. What kind of psycho does that? Now, am I the a-hole? I do feel kind of bad, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad that it happened before it was too late and not for a jealousy thing. Honestly, 5 years ago, when she came around again, I thought she was a completely different person. And yeah, she's completely worse than she was years ago. I don't know. I think I'm just angry, but am I the a-hole?